It's the Volley. It's Radio Tekkers. We have a full house today for change. Very exciting, of course. Yes, we've actually dragged Tanner in from his day job, apparently. So,
it's my day off.
Day off. Let's get into it.
There you go.
Again, thank you to Benny for the amazing intro. So, yes, I'm Matt Willis. This is the Volley. We're wrapping up the Matchday 11 of the Premier League already. Match 11.
So fast.
It is going both so fast. I'm, of course, joined, as always, by his lordship, the podfather himself, Mags. And
kablam!
As traditional, absolutely. And, of course, I'm joined semi-regularly by our roving reporter, and I'm not going to give you another title this week because it can get tired after time. But chief photocopy agent, maybe
that meme has had the shit kicked out of it.
It's had a little bit. Yeah,
it's died a death.
It is, but
laid to rest. Pay our respects and just leave it there.
Press F in the chat
for this week at least. Anyway, and Tanner as well.
Yeah. Bloody yank.
Allegedly, the boss here at Radio Tekkers.
I keep hearing this, and then I get invited for guest spots, and I think that's kind of cool.
So yeah, if you are new to Radio Tekkers, the Volley, this is where we wrap up the weekend's fixtures, of which there's usually 10 unless something's really badly gone wrong. So how about, gentlemen, we begin with a game which started before the weekend, ironically, on Friday.
Friday is the weekend. The weekend starts on Thursdays.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's start with, a game which killed a manager's career this weekend.
Well, it killed his career.
He will never manage again.
It's a bit harsh.
Swindon Town wouldn't even touch Dean Smith now.
He won't get a bigger job. Southampton. He won't get a bigger job, that's for sure. Southampton won, Aston Villa 0. Villa's fourth defeat in a row. For a team that was doing so well last year, yes, they saw Jack Grealish in the summer, but they did make some good signings. We all thought, anyway. The floor is yours, gentlemen, to discuss. Whether that bad or Southampton actually that good. Let's start with Chris.
I think overall, a point probably would have been a fair result. I think Southampton were definitely the better team in the first half, but the second half, Villa sort of they grew into the game more. They were creating more chances. They were a lot sharper. When Jacob Ramsey came on, he's probably been one of Villa's bright sparks this season. He's been a player who's come through the academy, and he's done really well in that sort of number 8 role. Being able to make driving runs forward from midfield. I think he's done really well in that regard. But yeah, like I said, Villa, they just started off too slowly, and that's where Adam Armstrong, who hasn't really had the best of starts at Southampton, he's trying to replace current Aston Villa striker Danny Ings. He hasn't really got off to the start as he was, almost expected to after his season last season at Blackburn Rovers. But he, 3 minutes in, that's, a sickener for Aston Villa. And it took them a while to get back into the game. I feel like the new signings that they made to sort of replace Jack Grealish, they haven't kicked on, whether it's been because of injuries with Bailey and Danny Ings, or whether it's because of they're being played, not in the most optimal position like Emi Buendia. It feels like they're really sort of lacking, and they obviously are because Jack Grealish is a £100 million player and that team was built around him for the past 3 or 4 years. But, I think it's a lot bigger of a loss than I think Dean Smith expected. And I feel like, whether it's, playing the 3 at the back system that they did, or whether it's playing this 4, almost 4-5-1, almost with Watkins up front on his own, they just really lacked that sort of intensity, that drive that they had last season that Grealish provided for them. down that left-hand side, and it's just they feel like a team sapped of energy. And like you say, that was the 5th loss in a row now for Aston Villa. They're a team who, yes, net spend and all that jazz, but they've spent the past 3 seasons or whatever, they've spent like £300 million in the transfer market, and they're currently sitting 16th place, minus 6 goal difference, 2 points over the relegation zone, and that is not where Villa will want to be, especially if you listen to the owner's comments after they saw Jack Grealish. They were really sort of portraying a club that is very ambitious, that wants to move forward, and being in a relegation scrap isn't going to be something that they had in their mind, especially after last season where they were comfortably mid-table. So yeah, it's a disappointment. I don't think that sacking Smith was the right move, especially since it looks, looking at some of the candidates who Villa are looking at to replace him, I don't think they're a significant upgrade from Dean Smith. But, we'll wait and see. I feel like, it's one of those where it could swing either way. I think the January transfer window, will be crucial for whoever becomes the new Aston Villa manager, whether they can sort of remould this team in their image, because they are struggling. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I went on for a while there.
You're absolutely fine. Absolutely fine indeed. Mags, your thoughts on it? Do you agree with Chris on this one?
Yeah, Chris is a tactical and an analytic genius when it comes to breaking down these matches, and it's very rare that I disagree with a point that is made. And I think it's interesting that we've given Arsenal a lot of praise recently for their kind of changing fortunes, and Southampton have kind of gone under the radar. This is like out of the last 12 available points, they've picked up 10. This is a real kind of changing fortunes, and very much a crisscross between how their fortunes are going and how Aston Villa's fortunes are going. I kind of understand the reasoning behind the sacking of Dean Smith. This is the worst losing run they've had since they were in the Championship in 2017. So there was a lot of pressure with the amount of money that Dean Smith had spent on players. Yeah, he had to replace a huge loss in Jack Grealish, but he did spend a hell of a lot of money. And those players, unfortunately, haven't really gelled yet. In terms of the game, I think they can be aggrieved that they didn't get a penalty. I think that there was a clear tug on the shirt from Romeu on Mings. But the fact that they ended this game with 3 up front and were still not able to score just shows the kind of the gravity of the issues that Villa have got. They quickly cycling into that mire of relegation, and as of now, I can't see how they pull out. They're now managerless. The confidence in the team is at an all-time low. There isn't the huge manager targets available that they perhaps will have been a couple of months ago. Yeah, it's everything's going wrong for Villa, and they're going to struggle to kind of recover, I think.
Indeed, Tanner, you've been a little bit critical of some of Dean Smith's tactics this season. Do you feel it was the right time for him to go?
Yeah, I actually slightly disagree with Mags's assertion that
shock.
Well, just for a counterpoint purpose, yeah. I feel like when talent like Leon Bailey and Buendia make it to Aston Villa, they've actually had a pretty decent enough start, but it's the consistency. And I think that you need to build on that confidence. And perhaps Dean Smith is just not the guy to build the confidence of this Aston Villa team. Again, there's a lot of candidates out there. I think what would be interesting is to see what somebody, Newcastle United rumors be damned, but maybe somebody like, what's that fellow's name? The guy who's supposed to go to Newcastle.
Eddie Howe. He's confirmed that he's at Newcastle.
It's been confirmed today. Oh, okay.
He was at the game. He was at the game this weekend, and he confirmed today.
Well, disregard that then. We need somebody like
Unai Emery is available.
Yeah, we need somebody like Unai Emery to take over
Yeah.
Aston Villa and reinvent the image of
Well, the top four,
Villa.
the top four of the bookmakers are in reverse order: Paulo Fonseca,
He'd be good.
He's been linked to every Premier League
Yeah.
job that's been available this season.
Paulo
He's been
Fonseca
linked to
would
the
be good.
Norwich job, I think.
Yeah,
Indeed.
he's the new Alan Kirbishley.
Indeed.
Fonseca is.
Indeed. John Terry's third favourite.
Yikes.
Oh boy! Hide your
Please.
kids, hide your wives.
Oh,
You know, here's
that's a
John Terry.
relegation spot that we don't have to worry about. Oh, God, I hope that happens.
Roberto Martinez is second favourite.
Roberto
Interesting.
Martinez.
Yeah, second favourite. And the favourite is
Man.
Steven Gerrard.
No way on God's green earth Gerrard rocks up to that Aston Villa job. Not in a
No,
million.
I don't think so either, but according to the bookies, he's 5 to 6.
That's a
I'm
waste
not-
of money.
I'm not going to say no chance because I do feel like there are definitely certain benefits that would go to Gerrard if you decide to go to Villa rather than
Yeah.
staying at Rangers. It will be a lot smoother of a transition to go from Rangers to Villa to Liverpool rather than just Rangers to Liverpool. And because that's eventually where he is going. He will be the person who will take over Klopp. I think that's pretty much set in
Yeah.
stone at this point. So I feel like getting sort of Premier League experience, that could be something that could be in the back of Gerrard's mind. But at the same time...
Or the front of Gerrard's
Like you
mind.
say, what's that, sorry?
I said, or the front of Gerrard's mind.
Well, yeah, it could be anywhere in Gerrard's mind. You know, I'm not sure, how
It could be
human
on
mind
Paul
works.
Scholes' daughter's toes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
the neural pathways are an amazing.
Stop bringing that
you
up,
know,
Max.
Yeah.
Delicious,
You don't have to
delicious
bring up in
toenails.
every single stream. Oh, do you know Paul Scholes sucked his daughter's toes? Like,
I mean, that's what
And
brings
to-
the
And
viewers.
speaking of sucking Paul Scholes' daughter's toes, Man City versus United.
There you
It's
go.
the perfect
oh, what a
segue, Max.
smooth
yes.
transition, honestly. That's why he's a pro.
I
That's
was
why
channeling
we're
my
in the
inner Matt.
I'm not entirely sure that's what I would have gone with, but indeed, let's move on. Let's move on to the onto the Manchester derby, which of course we covered here on Tekkers. We had an amazing Ori with us for that game. Is it wrong to say that this was worse, probably, for Man United than the thrashing that was given to them by Liverpool 2
No.
weeks ago?
No,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
it's not
Yes,
that.
it is.
It's not that much worse.
Right. In terms of the result,
It's about fair.
on paper, the Liverpool whooping is a way worse result. In terms of the performance from Man United, you could argue that this performance was the worst performance. They were horrific against Man City. At least Liverpool had to show pace and they had to show creativity to create the chances and the goals that they got. This Man City team were essentially long balling it and walking it in. There was no challenges from hardly any Manchester United players. They did not want to be on this pitch. It was a piss poor performance. And this was a piss poor performance by Man City. Don't get me wrong. A 2-0 victory, whilst it gets you the points, it doesn't show that you were an amazing team. It's just that you scored 2 goals into a very wank team. This was a horrific performance by Manchester United. How Solskjaer has kept his job and it's understood that they are not looking for a replacement is beyond me, because these are 2 of the most embarrassing home defeats that have ever happened with this club. It was ridiculous.
Indeed.
Not only is he not being sacked, but apparently he's not even under any pressure, which seems baffling to me.
It's
It
ludicrous.
It is, especially when you see one of the stats I saw this morning, is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is responsible for 21% of Manchester United's home Premier League defeats in their history. That's nearly a
it's not
quarter.
surprising.
In 3 years.
I mean, look at how he manages the team. Look at look at how they play. It's not surprising that they are this bad at home under Ole.
I mean, even before the ball kicks off, though, it's the lineup. It's the most. This is a Man United team who used to dominate Premier Leagues, who used to be the team you watch if you want to see goals aplenty. They played 7 defensive players in this game. Again, twice they did it. It's ridiculous.
He got the tactics 100% wrong. He literally gave City all the space that they needed to just stay in first gear and win the game.
Yeah. And I mean, I can understand, I can sort of see what he was going for. His mindset was, we were absolutely shite defensively versus Liverpool. So if I put more defenders on, maybe we won't be as shite defensively against Man City. Mm-hmm. But, the fact that he was just sitting off, it allowed Man City, like you say, Tanner, it allowed Man City just to gander. They're just comfortable in possession. There was no pressure. Ronaldo wasn't pressing from the front, neither was Bruno Fernandes. There was no energy. There was no pressing. There was just nothing. Man City were not put under any sort of pressure. And like Mag said, the Liverpool game, Liverpool were high intense. They were pressing high. They were using their pace to running behind. And that's why Liverpool ended up scoring 5. And I believe Man City could have scored 5 or 6 past this Man United team. It's just the fact that they didn't have to. They didn't have to get out the second gear like Liverpool.
I agree, Chris. I agree because Man City, and this is actually warned slightly by Graham Souness. As much as I don't like the man, he actually warned that Man City could come here and they could just toy with United.
And they did. That's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
There was no pressure at all. I'm sorry to Man United fans in the chat, by the way. We have to talk about Man United's poor defensive work here. And
it's ironic that outside of De Gea, who was by far Man United's best player, the only one who looked like he was actually giving a shit about winning the match. Aside from him, the only player who really showed any kind of passion is the player who's essentially begging for minutes. Donny van der Beek. He got 10 minutes of a game. He was going to be brought on way earlier, and then injuries happened and they had to switch around. But he got 10 minutes, and he showed more passion in those 10 minutes than 10 of the other players showed in the full game. It's ridiculous. Man United fans should be massively, massively concerned that Solskjaer is not being at least considered for the exit.
This is very true. I mean, the chat can say, for example, Connor Cave, good beginning, by the way, sir. He actually does say, I play FIFA better tactics than Ollie with Man United. Heck, hire me as a new manager. Unfortunately, don't get an offer anytime soon, Connor.
And I said it whilst we were doing the live stream. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer seems like a really nice bloke. All the way through his career, he's always had this kind of person who you can't dislike, even though he plays for a team that you potentially hate. But this is ruining his legacy at Man United. This you are now not thinking of the babyface assassin who was an absolute killer when he played the game. You're thinking of a manager who was way out of his depth, who doesn't look like he could manage in non-league football, never mind Premier League football. And it for me, it's ruining his legacy.
A very nice man who just wanted to be friends with Ronaldo. That's really all this is boiled down to.
Unfortunately, it is. It really is.
It's really ironic. The rumours are it's Ronaldo who's leading the backlash to get him out of his job. So maybe it's a one-sided relationship there.
Perhaps so. Maybe he just wants to be player manager. I know I brought this up a little while ago. Ronaldo for player manager, man. Let's put it on the cards.
I believe that's on the video that you and Chris did together back in the archives. I believe it's a good one. You go and check it out, guys. After this, of course. It is kind of concerning when having seen the Sudbury versus Colchester first round match. Sudbury, who lost 4-0, put up more fight than Man United did in this match.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of concerning that an 8th tier team.
But Sudbury aren't managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so
this is very true as well. But the thing is, there was more energy and fight in the team that lost 4-0 than Man United. Who, if I did that to you, you'd have told me I should start smoking something. Unfortunately,
you know who didn't lose 4-0 though? Burnley. Burnley didn't lose 4-0.
No, we didn't lose 4-0.
We shall come to that, of course. But first, we do stop by another manager who's
just completely
replaced him.
shuts down
Yeah,
that attempt.
Fuck you, Tanner.
Yeah,
I
don't
do
interrupt
the
my
segues
schedule.
here.
Don't interrupt my schedule.
This is not Radio Tekkers, goddammit.
Hey, I just saw, Mags gave a good segue.
Yeah.
Chris gave a good segue. I thought I would jump in and give it a try.
We have
Your
to do the
segue
Saturday
was
3
better
o'clock
than
in
mine.
alphabetical order.
Yeah.
It was a
How it
good segue. I'm just not ready for it. That's all.
Hold it in your back pocket.
Matt, this check notes. Yes, we are going to Brentford versus Norwich.
Exactly. This game was actually very enjoyable to watch, which is nothing to say about Norwich much this season. Tanner, since you had the unfortunate segue, how about you lead off talking about Norwich replacing their manager after getting their first win in 60 attempts?
Yeah, good win. Their kits are ugly as hell. Still.
That's why
yeah.
they sacked Fark.
Yeah, but I mean, solid win, solid pickup for Norwich here. Unexpected too, because I felt as though Brentford would have just run all over Norwich, and that really wasn't the case. I mean, both teams were playing some decent football. Norwich got in with better clinical finishing than what Brentford did. Brentford had 19 shots in total, only 7 of which were on target. And they only converted 1. So, this looked like a very wasteful Brentford team here against Norwich.
I'm going to just flip it back on you. I'm going to disagree with you, just to be pernickety. But I actually think that Brentford should have won this game. And if it wasn't for Tim Krul, I thought he had an outstanding game in goal. And he's been one of Norwich's better players, ironically, even though they've been in such a poor form. I think Tim Krul was the saviour for a lot of the chances. I think there was at least a couple of chances from Norgard that any other day would have been the goal. But Tim Krul was the right man in the right spot. It's just weird how you struggle for a win. You're looking like you're on target to beat the lowest points record in Premier League history. You get that victory against a team who were flying, although they have kind of been stuttering recently, and then you sack your manager. It's almost like there's a race to let managers go now. I don't get it. But Norwich, for me, they made the best of the least possession, the least amount of shots. They were, as Tanner said, they were more clinical. The foul for the penalty was, Jesus Christ, it was a lot of bad fouls this week. A lot of bad fouls, but very kind of a calm from Puke for the finish. As Matt said, it was an enjoyable game to watch.
Chris, Norwich, of course, finally getting points on the board. What does the new manager coming in have to do to propel them out of this relegation fight? Because that's what their goal's got to be, surely.
Keep doing that. Just win more. If you win games, you do tend to get points, and you need points to stay up. So no, I think this Norwich performance that we saw against Brentford, it's something that we've not seen all season from Norwich, and it wasn't something that we had to see last season from Norwich because they were so dominant in games. In that it was resolute, they dug in, and they actually managed to grind out a win. It wasn't pretty from them. It wasn't, free flowing or anything, but it was exactly what they needed to do. Like Connor's saying here, the style of play, the team themselves, they were, far and away the best team in the Championship last season, but they couldn't transition to the Premier League. Well, this style of play, it's what you need to do as a newly promoted team. You need to be able to grind out results. It's what, this season, it's what Brentford did against Liverpool. It's what Brentford did against, well, not really against Arsenal because, they spanked Arsenal.
Wiped the floor off. They managed to grind out results. It's what Watford have done. That you need to be able to hold on to points. You need to be able to hold on to victories, especially when, you're not going to be, scoring loads of goals. I mean, they scored 2 today, and that brings them up to 5 goals from 11 games. Mm-hmm. So, that just shows they're not exactly free-flowing football. So they need to be able to have a solid, resolute defence.
I think the back two of Gibson and I always trip over that word. That young Irish lad, I'll call him that. That's a lot easier to say than there. It was a very tight defence, very compact, especially with that three in midfield in front of them. Gibson, I think this could be a potential partnership that Norwich look to stick with. I know Gibson's had a bit of a torrid time since he's moved to Norwich on a permanent, and then on the bench you've got like Grant Hanley, players like that who Ozan Kabak's another one who also haven't really adapted well to the Premier League. This is hopefully for Norwich's sake a partnership that they'll be able to rely on. And I think a player who they are really going to be relying on and who they have been relying on all season up until this point is Mathis Norman. Obviously, he was at Brighton a couple of years ago. That didn't work out. He never played a game for them. But he's ended up at Norwich. And he's actually a very tidy midfielder for Norwich. He's someone who can play that six role, sweeping up balls in and behind, but also he can make those driving runs forward. He's very much of a box-to-box type player. And the fact that he's able to make those direct runs forward, and he has a decent passing move, that's going to be vital to see if Norwich can transition into a team that actually starts to grind out results.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Conor having a great comment in the chat here. Do you know if he moves in January?
I mean, they have to, surely. It's quite clear that despite this result, that this is not a Premier League quality team. It's a championship winning team, but they definitely need to have more goal threat. I do agree with Chris though that Mathis Norman has been one of the highlights, and I actually like his control of the ball when he is making those mazy runs. The ball seems to be almost glued to his feet, and he showed that with the goal, how he outfoxed essentially three Brentford defenders to set up for the pretty easy finish, really, just nicely, calmly slotted it into the bottom corner. But they need more of this on a consistent basis if they're going to force their way out of this relegation picture. I don't think it happens. I think this may be an anomaly, but hopefully the new manager can build on this.
Indeed. The new
I mean, there were reports from Sky that the three manager shortlist, sorry for interrupting you, Matt, the three manager shortlist that
Unai Emery, Paulo Fonseca, Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce. No, the three manager shortlist that they had in mind apparently was Ralph Hasenhüttl, Dean Smith, and Frank Lampard.
Lampard is the odd-on favourite, yes. Dean Smith is third.
Dean Smith's now available. So
Dean Smith is third favourite at 3-1. Heston Harty is the same odds as I can't pronounce the name.
That's a new whole tag, if you've heard one. Hassan Harty.
Or Ralph is joint. Is a 20-1
friends call him
with Louis Boumorte.
As manager?
As manager, yeah.
Has he ever managed a club?
Not in the Premier League or in English football, I believe, no.
Wow. I remember him and his antics at West Ham and Arsenal, but I didn't know he'd gone into management.
And Fulham, as they like to say in Jacksonville. I would also bet Hodgson is 16-1.
No, his days are done. He's already said he's
retired. If you didn't want to retire, you stayed at Palace.
I agree. I'm just saying what some
I think the good money would be on Dean Smith. The fact he's out of a job, he transitioned straight into that team, I think.
I'm not sure. The thing is that no manager will want to go and get relegated with someone else's team. That's the issue, really. Norwich, they got a brilliant win against Brentford. But they still, they still look a fair distance away from being able to break out of that bottom three. And if you're a manager, and the Norwich job's available, you're going to be thinking, well, hang on, why should I get a relegation on my CV when it wasn't my team, sort of thing. So I can understand the likes of Dean Smith being hesitant to take that job, especially Frank Lampard. I just cannot see that happening whatsoever. Personally, I really don't know who the money's on, who the good money's on for the Norwich job. Really, I mean, his name's not been mentioned, but I don't think we can completely rule. You can never really rule out Sam Allardyce when you're in a relegation scrap.
He's 33-1.
Yeah, I mean,
get your 50p on it, Matt.
Exactly. Get your 2 bob on. 2 bob's not you are.
Tempting.
But I don't know. Again, it's another one where we'll have to wait and see, really. I think that Norwich definitely have a lot fewer options than Aston Villa at this point in time. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Indeed. Now, Tanner, how about you drop in that wonderful segue you had planned?
Oh, the point's gone now.
Yeah, I mean, what, you want me to redo the same joke?
He's not a performing monkey.
I know, yeah.
For your benefit.
I've called him worse.
And speaking of performing monkeys, let's talk about Sean Darch and how he smashed and grabbed against Chelsea.
See, there you go.
I wasn't going to say that, but go on.
Are you going to keep doing, moving your arms like this every time you speak now?
Do you want me to like a puppet?
Well, bear in mind that both your good selves didn't think you'd get anything at the bridge. You might be quite happy
I
with
thought we were
yourself.
going to get spanked, honestly.
Yeah. And when
We should have
Havertz
done.
scored,
We did get spanked, really.
apart from the ball just wouldn't go in the net. This was smash and grab. There's no other clearer way to explain it. We did not deserve a point, but we got one, and that's what Burnley brings to the Premier League. I think the fact that we are so hard to put down, and if you don't finish us off, we're going to do things like this. We're going to get a late goal, and we're going to surprise you. And we did exactly that, and something that nobody's been able to do at Chelsea pretty much all season, and that's come away with points.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real analysis to be had here. We just shit house the result. That's that's all you can say, really. Nick Pope looks back to his best. Chelsea really missed Romelu Lukaku up front. I think the finishing, some of the finishing, especially from Kai Havertz. Obviously he got the goal, but he should have had 3 or 4 by half time. Never mind by full time. I think some of the finishing from Chelsea was pretty bad. The defending for the Matty Vieira goal, especially from Rudiger, he came out too rashly. He needs to stay on his man. It was timed his run to perfection. Vieira was onside by far. I mean, like you said, there's no real analysis to be had. Chelsea should have put 6 past us. They didn't, and we made them pay for it. And
the stats actually back that up, because Chelsea had 70% of the ball. They had 5 times the amount of shots that Burnley had, 25 to 5. But the issue was Burnley had 2 on target and Chelsea only had 4 on target. They even had 14 corners to Burnley's 2. This was Burnley with their backs to the wall for the majority of the game, and then when they get that one sniff of a goal, it happened, and you don't put Burnley away at your peril. It's as simple and clear as that.
Indeed, I was quite pleased about this, because I was expecting it to be an unfortunate day for Burnley at Chelsea.
Ye of little faith.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I did say to you, I could see you guys getting something. You all told me I was crazy, but you did come away with a point. Tanner, you obviously didn't have a dog in this fight personally, but you were obviously, as a Liverpool fan, didn't want Chelsea to get too much farther ahead, especially in what happened on Sunday in retrospect.
So he did have a dog in the fight then.
Yeah,
but
he's lied, is what you...
Yeah.
Not technically, but you were happy, I'm guessing, to see Chelsea drop points.
I'm always happy to see Chelsea drop points. I really despise Chelsea, to be quite honest with you personally.
Despise is a strong word.
What?
Yeah, but I don't like them. So, I mean, yeah.
They've got your boys.
They've
got the only hope America has of ever reaching another World Cup. I don't see how.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him do that into a whole nother kit, though. I mean, that's totally fine with me. I've just never liked Chelsea a whole bunch. Never a big fan of them. Obviously, the things that Chelsea are doing under Thomas Tuchel are fine. He's a good manager.
Arguably the best German manager alive today.
Probably not,
that's a
but
good shout,
that's it's worth trying.
I mean,
the
probably
suggestion.
not. Ralph Nagelsmann's also about in there, so there is
Ralph
that.
Nagelsmann.
Who else is there? I mean, there's there's a lot of good German managers right now. So Thomas Tuchel to be the best one, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, no, I was happy for Burnley and Sean Dyche's men out there. Obviously, like you said, I mean, I can't say anything that you haven't already said about the match, where it was just a smash and grab. Y'all really put it to Chelsea, and that makes me smile.
It makes me smile as well.
And me as well.
Yeah.
So everyone's happy campers here. How about we
For
go?
a while,
Maybe maybe not when we get to the closing parts of this show, but let's get there first.
We'll stay in London for Crystal Palace and Wolves. This is before we get to that though, comment came in the chat, so we should talking about the US national team now, Chris. If I may have you know, I'm one of the biggest SMNT fans around.
Oh yeah, no. To be fair, I do think I was a little bit harsh about the US men's national team. And I feel like if I have offended the US men's national team fans, then I do apologise to both of you.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but I was very happy with it.
Yeah, you stuck through the journey. Smooth landing.
It was a smooth landing indeed. Right, okay, so
Speaking of smooth landings.
Well, to be fair, Crystal Palace had a pretty straightforward afternoon against the Wolves.
Yeah. You've nailed it. They didn't have to really get out of second gear to win this game. Two of their best players are on form with the goals in Zaha and Gallagher. It was an easy day at the office for Palace. Dominated in terms of possession, dominated in terms of shots. Wolves just didn't come out to play, and Palace capitalised.
Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with Max. Go on, what were you saying?
I was going to say, Patrick Vieira is someone who has really started to impress as a manager, seeing as how he's learned under the Guardiola tree, as it were, a little bit, and he's plied his trade in France, and now he's first real crack of a half decent, 3/4 decent team, and he's really getting some good results. I mean, where are they in the table right now, Max?
They are currently 10th.
The top half.
Yeah, the 10th. But I think the thing that stands out to me about Palace is they have such an attacking lineup. They approach each and every game with the intention of playing attractive looking football. I mean, that front three of Edouard, Benteke, and Zaha ran Wolves ragged in this game, and then you follow that up with Gallagher. I think that they've got the makings of a quietly entertaining team, and especially when you consider where they were at the beginning of the season. In the pre-season, where they had so many players out of contract, and this was essentially a whole new team brought in. I think they've done great work, and it's not often you say you are excited to watch a Palace performance, but you actually are now excited to see what Palace can bring.
Yeah, one thing I really do like about this Crystal Palace team, like you mentioned, that front three. Zaha may be an exception, but Edouard and Benteke, they are very traditional sort of number nines, big physical players. Edouard does tend to drop deeper a little bit, but they are, sort of, stereotypical big forwards. Usually if you get a 4-3-3, obviously you have two wingers who will stay out wide. They might cut inside play, inside forwards or whatever, but you will get, one main centre forward. Whereas this front three, they play very narrow. They play very close to each other, and I feel like that really has it's leading to sort of brilliant understanding between the three of them. The little pockets of space that they can find, and also the fact that if you're playing narrow, that means you've got three strikers against two centre halves essentially. So that's either forcing, obviously in this Wolves game it's different because they played 3 at the back. But, if a team, most teams will play 4 at the back. So either that forces a number 6 to drop deeper and almost play as a third centre half, or it forces the fullbacks to tuck inside, which, gives space for, the opposition, the Palace wing backs to bomb forward, or it gives space for Conor Gallagher to get forward. And he's someone who has, really impressed this season. When you consider, some of the players that Chelsea have kept around, Ross Barkley, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, there's an argument that Conor Gallagher will definitely get in the team ahead of them. And I feel like he has a big decision coming up next summer. Obviously, they'll have Billy Gilmore coming back from loan as well. So it's a big decision whether Gallagher wants to stay at Chelsea and try and break into that team ahead of, it's a lot of competition like Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic. Mason Mount can sometimes play in that midfield, or whether he wants to make a permanent move somewhere else because he fits into, he gets straight into the first team of, most Premier League teams, I reckon. I rate him really highly, Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I know that Tanner was extremely upset that Edouard ended up at Palace. He wanted him to go to Liverpool. He said that on transfer deadline day. He's been looking week in, week out, more and more like a bargain as well. Yeah. I mean, how much did they sign him for in the end?
Was it that 13 million?
Roughly, yeah. I think it was 15 million euros, I think it was. So that's roughly like 12 million quid.
Definitely like Celtic should have charged more.
When we covered the transfer deadline day, that was one of the more outstanding transfers that came through. Really kind of out of left field because I always thought Edouard would go to maybe a top 6 team. But for him to go to Palace was a massive shock. And I think he's shining there. He may not be as prolific as he was in Scotland, but who really is? I mean, Scotland is more of a farmers' league than France ever will be.
Yeah.
But
I get 10 goals in Scotland.
Yeah, well, I'd at least get 2.
Well, you're the Paddy and Predator. Don't sell yourself short.
That still sounds so wrong.
You should go around calling yourself the Lordship when you make your Premier League debut, or your Scottish Premier League debut, rather.
Lord Predator.
Lord.
that sounds like I'm the chief pedo.
King of the pedos.
Oh, God.
But either way, Edouard, I think he's hit the ground running at Palace, and I think he's going to be one of the bargains of the season.
Yeah, and he's not pedo, just to make it clear.
Yeah, just to put it out there, he is not Gylfi Sigurdsson. Definitely not.
Alleged Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yes, still innocent to be guilty. Right, moving on, or very guilty. Moving on to Brighton and Newcastle. How did Brighton not win this game?
By not scoring more goals than Newcastle did.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yes. Easy enough.
Yep, you're right. Well, let's move on to Sunday's games.
That's very true, but of course, obviously Newcastle had the manager elect. Obviously, at the time was up in the Brighton box with Amanda Staveley. I've got to make sure I get her name right because I seem to get it wrong on a regular basis. Yeah, one shot on target and it was the goal for Newcastle. But yeah, can Eddie Howe make this Newcastle team tick?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, he's going to have to. It's not going to be this Newcastle team, but he will make a Newcastle team tick.
I don't agree. I really don't. I think there's when Eddie came to Burnley, even the level of media presence at Burnley seemed to have a massive effect on him. Imagine being in charge of the most lucrative sports entity in the whole of the world. I think he may wilt under that pressure. I don't think Eddie was the right person for this job. I think they struggled in getting the manager they want, and I feel that Eddie may be kind of like what happened at Tottenham, that he was maybe the 6th, 7th, 8th choice. I mean, the guy's a nice guy. I really hope he does well. I just don't see it. And going off the performances that we've seen since they've been managerless, this was by far their best performance. And even in this performance, they were terrible. Like Chris said, they had one shot, which led to the goal. But other than that, they were dominated off the pitch by Brighton. So there's still a hell of a lot of work to do for this Newcastle team. And I don't know if Eddie Howe is the man who can do this.
Oh, for sure. And I'll agree with the bulk of everything that you've said here, with the slight difference in being, I disagree with the assertion that Eddie Howe is going to be, the guy, right? Like, Eddie Howe is there to do
a transition.
Job. Yes, he's going to be there to try and keep Newcastle afloat, A, and B, to try and make them better than what they were under Steve Bruce. And I think he can still do that. They're definitely going to have a lot of transitions in January. I think we're going to see a lot of business being done on Newcastle's end as far as outgoings. And they're probably going to make, I would say at least 2 or 3 incomings in January, if not more. I just don't see, I don't see the rationale as to why Eddie Howe is going to be not a success, but I don't think he was ever destined to be the success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. A transitional manager. He's the guy to steer Newcastle through the next 18 months or so until they can attract
18 months is accurate.
Until they can attract a big name manager. They're more grounded in the Premier League. There's no kind of worry of relegation. But is he the guy to stave off that relegation in the first place? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Eddie Howe's track record, it's because obviously he's going to have I'd assume he'd have a fair bit of money to spend at Newcastle. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'd have to double check. But if you look at his track record at spending money at Bournemouth, he spent most of his money on Liverpool youth players. He'd buy Dominic Solanke, Jordan Ibe, Nathaniel Klein.
Maybe he'll do us a favor and buy Naby Keita.
Yeah. No, genuinely, I would put my mortgage on Nico Williams for £20 million going to Newcastle. That just sounds like an Eddie Howe transfer all over every single day of the week.
Ox will be available.
Yeah. I'll sell you Ox. We'll keep Naby. You can have Ox. That's fine.
40 million for Ox.
I'm down for that. 60.
Wow.
You're not actually negotiating.
Yeah, it's Tanner Stavely here.
Just trying to get the ball rolling here,
I know Max is northern, but he's not that northern.
There is a little bit of a question regarding Newcastle's transfer deals in January. Everybody knows, of course, that they have money, of course, and a lot of money. So will people? So the problem is that will people just be jacking up the price if Newcastle come knocking?
Yes, absolutely.
Of course they will.
How many times has it happened to Liverpool that a player that they're interested in is suddenly now 10, 15 million pounds more expensive? It is going to happen.
Look at the Man United tax.
Yeah.
That's exactly the thing.
But I still believe that Newcastle have to be sensible in the kind of players they think they can attract. They are not going to get Champions League level players at this club because there's no Champions League pedigree there. They're definitely probably going to get someone like Tark. I think he's almost tacked on to join this Newcastle revolution. But I think they need to be more muted in the players that they are linked with, because they're not going to pull in the likes of Hazard or Benzema or whoever's available, the likes of Mbappe. It's just not feasible. These players are not going to go to Newcastle. So they're going to have to be more sensible in their approach to signings. And I don't think Eddie Howe is the kind of manager who can attract those big signings anyway. He doesn't have that kind of name recognition, I think, on the international football scene. So that kind of leads into the point that Tanner made about this being very much a transitional period. This is just Newcastle trying to survive this season, building on it next season, and then maybe going up against the bigger boys in 2, 3, 4 seasons from now.
They need to take some pulling advice off you, don't they, Max?
I definitely think
I'm unappreciated in my time.
Yeah.
I definitely think we may
misunderstood genius.
We might do a special program about Newcastle's transfer target possibly next month, because let's face it, everyone is pretty much going to be on their radar.
All transfer deadline day will be about Newcastle, about who Newcastle bring in.
This is something we'll talk about for change, of course. Okay, so that's all the Saturday games wrapped up. Let's move on to the first game of Sunday, which is Arsenal 1-0 to Arsenal against Watford.
Should have been way more. Way more.
Indeed. Tell about it, Mags.
Yeah, I mean, we've not been Arsenal's biggest fans. We've certainly been very critical of them being spineless at times, having no direction, of Arteta being kind of the same style of manager as Ole, where he doesn't have a plan B. He didn't have the respect of the players, or it seemed he didn't. And how times have changed. I mean, he's now got Aubameyang playing some of the best football he's played in an Arsenal shirt. He's got that core of players who we said that the team should be built around, the likes of Saka, the likes of Odegaard, the likes of Smith Rowe, and it's paying dividends for him. They should have won this game at a canter. Easily by 3 or 4 goals. They didn't. They actually only won it by 1. But it was a very solid victory by Arsenal. There was no point in the game where you thought that this team was under any pressure or there was any concern. It was just a very solid victory for him.
Yeah, you've been quite critical of Alexander Lacazette throughout the last season and the early part of this season. It's good to see them being played together and actually working.
I mean, this wasn't probably Aubameyang's best performance. I think he looked at times frustrated. He wasn't in the best of form up front. But taking how he's performed over the last few weeks, I think that this is an anomaly. He's had some great performances, but yeah, I like that partnership of Aubameyang and Lacazette. They play well off each other. They seem to have a natural chemistry, and the issue is keeping them happy. And I think that Arteta has managed to do the impossible and is able to perform that and make sure that both guys are on the same page, firing on both cylinders. But it's also building that defensive structure, which they certainly struggled with last season. We all agreed that Ben White was a good signing for him, very expensive for what they paid, but certainly added some steel to that defence. And him and the partnership he's got with Gabriel is really kind of flourishing now. But for me, it's all about that middle of the park, the Odegaard, the Saka, the Smith Rowe. They really are performing so well. And like I said, this game should have been 3, maybe 4-0. But at the end of the day, a 1-0 result is still the same 3 points. And we're now looking at an Arsenal who, at the middle of the early parts of this season, we were talking about a relegation zone, obviously in jest, but now we're looking at an Arsenal in the top 5. Looking at potentially Champions League level Arsenal again, which who would have thought that 18 months ago?
Certainly not me. I'm pretty sure, I can't speak for all of you gentlemen, but I'm pretty sure not many of us were thinking the same sort of lines. Mm-hmm. We were also quite critical of the amount of money spent on Aaron Ramsdale, and he didn't have a great amount to do in this game.
Still think they got ripped off, but he's been one of the better keepers in the Premier League over the last 5 or 6 games.
Indeed. And he never was doing this game, but he's proving us wrong in terms of him being a relegation keeper, for sure.
So I always rated him for Bournemouth. I thought Ramsdale was definitely Bournemouth's best player when I got relegated this season. It's just the move to Sheffield United didn't work out for him, whether that was because of the style of play to make longer balls, which, we've seen his passing's been excellent for Arsenal this season. That's because he's not been forced to, I hate stereotype teams, but he's not, goofing it up for the big men up front. And I think we really shouldn't underestimate the power of personalities I feel like that's something that this season Ramsdale showed up for. A bit of a fight. He chats back to the away fans. He'll have got the he had got the Leicester fans. He had got the only fans when he was away. And as a keeper, you want someone who's is a big ego, who'll back himself. You don't want someone who's timid, who'll stay on his line. You want someone who'll back himself to go out and claim every ball. So I think that's something that's really an underappreciated part of Aaron Ramsdale. And I think a point why he will, all continue to grow. I mean, he's only 23 years old, which for a keeper, that's he's still a baby. And I think definitely that over the next coming years, I think Jordan Pickford's position as England number one will definitely be under threat by Ramsdale.
Mm-hmm. How he's done one now is anyone's business. I'm not quite sure how. Matt from Fathers go in the chat saying Aubameyang's defending was better for Watford than Watford's defenders. Maybe a little bit harsh, but kind of accurate at the same time.
Ranieri must be one of the favourites to be next for the sack.
Second favourite behind Solskjaer.
The fact he's had so many games as Watford manager, he must be like the longest tenured Watford manager in a decade.
Yeah. It's
I think Tanner's fourth choice.
Lasts one game, but that's what happens when you have 4 or 5 a season.
I genuinely think Tanner is fourth choice right now to be Watford manager. I think we just line up and take turns at this point, don't we?
I'll take the job.
Pick it out of an hat.
It could do a 2-week holiday in England.
Yeah. Just be like, hey, how's it going?
Bad from the States.
Right, let's go, boys. Come on. Yeah.
Matt was going to say the great goal line clearance for them. It was certainly not what they anticipated for sure. Right. See what I'm up to here. Yes. We'll move on to Leeds versus Leicester.
Are you missing a game out? You normally go alphabetical.
He's going over the format, right?
Wow. Are you
straying
from your notes?
Yeah,
it wasn't the format at all that he lost over time.
He can strain from his notes, that's fine.
So that's how the one rule for one,
it's
one rule for another.
It's purely because I thought I had the next one ready and I don't. So that's why I somehow missed it when I was doing the updating. So
we could cover Everton versus Tottenham pretty quickly. It was a shit draw. Both teams look piss poor. Conte will be bitterly regretting taking this job on because Tottenham look worse in this match than they've looked in quite a while, and that's saying something. Everton will wank, Tottenham will wank. Let's move on to Leeds and Leicester. There we go.
I'll add one note real quick about Conte's first match in charge of Spurs. Before I go, I have to make dinner, unfortunately. But
under the thumb there, Mr. Tanner.
I know. I really don't see this as a negative result for Conte. I think that it's a baseline. It's very much a litmus test as to where the waters are with Spurs.
Just stop talking, get cooking, because that's a bad take, sir.
Get back to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's
they had 55% of the ball.
Yeah,
only managed 8 shots to Everton's 12 and got 0 on target. That's a poor day at the office.
Yeah, for Spurs, but not for Conte. I mean, I'm mentally differentiating them together because this is his first week at the job. You got to have a litmus test of some variety here. Just like Claudio Ranieri had a litmus test. He got spanked against Liverpool 5-0, and then he went the next week and beat Everton 5-2. You got to find out what you're working with. You got to find out what your tools are. And obviously, he got to see just in what kind of shape Spurs are in, so he can try and figure out what the next plan is.
I get that. I mean, the difference with the two are that I think Ranieri thrives in that tinkering kind of role, where Conte is someone who plays with the best of the best of the best. He won't be used to performances like this, where players are so poor that even Matt forgets to put him on the docket. They had such a poor performance that they got 0 shots on target. He will be looking and saying, I know why I turned this job down in the first place. I wish I'd turned it down again.
Oh, and that very well may be the case at the end of the day, right? But let's not forget where Antonio Conte comes from. The first Juventus teams that he led hardly spent any money at all. There was hardly any investment, and these were not world beaters. These were guys that I could probably hang with, right? That was a very good Juventus team, and he got the very best out of them with very little investment in comparison to maybe some of these other more modern Juventus teams that we're seeing. This is a manager who can still get the job done with the parts that he has.
I'm being incredibly facetious. I have lots of faith in Conte's ability as a manager, and I'm sure that he'll be able to drag Spurs up the table. But I can also understand
kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I can understand him looking at this and thinking, "What the fuck have I signed up for? These are piss poor. Why can I not spend 200 million and get a whole new team in?"
Well, that might be the $64 million question.
That's why Daniel Levy's your owner, director of football, and everything else he wants to call himself.
He's tarter than a nun's chuff.
On that note, I will be headed into the kitchen to make some chicken. You guys take care and have yourselves a great night, all right?
Make me a sandwich, Tanner, please.
Oh, yeah. It'll get there in about 2 weeks.
Fetch me a whiskey.
See you later.
Just come on, mouldy.
Thank you, Arkid.
Right, a bit pal. No, you can't say Arkid. That's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, while we're talking about Everton, and but before we move on quickly, Matt from Friday says he knows that Richarlison is a little girl, but how did Romero get away with a headbutt despite VAR?
Yeah, there was a lot of dodgy VARs in this match. There could have easily been a penalty if it wasn't for VAR. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, I think a draw was a fair result because both teams were not good in front of goal, but Everton certainly can be, I think, the more aggrieved. And one thing that we have kind of glossed over, look, I've upset Chris that much he's walked away, is that your favourite Everton player got sent off, Holtag.
Yes, got sent off. And he was straight red as well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he was actually not going to get punished at all. But the VAR came in and, he got a straight red.
It's some of the interpretation of VAR is a little bit off at times. It's been better this year, but it's still a few times where you're thinking like, come on, we can all see at the red. Also, Matt Fernandez said, wouldn't be at all surprised if it's on the Newcastle list for transfers, contract running out, so it could be quite cheap.
They'll be looking at the likes of Kale and Navas, I think.
Yeah,
well, I think keeper's probably the one position that Newcastle are all right in.
Yeah, I do like that.
As first choice, and they've got Darlow and Woodman as backups. So
yeah, got a lot of time for Darlow for sure. Right, Leeds Leicester, another game with contentious VAR decisions.
I know you were desperate to get this game on. Yeah,
I was desperate to talk about Leeds versus Leicester because Leicester they've been going on a downwards trajectory in the last few weeks. They after beating United, they've just not been at the races almost, it feels like.
As have Leeds. Leeds have had a very indifferent start to this season. It's almost like Beelzebub has been found out.
Yes. I did like some of the stuff that Leeds did in this game. Leeds literally pummeled Leicester for periods of this game. Should Leicester have had the winner? Was it right to be chalked off, Max?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we give VAR a lot of grief, but yeah, I don't think it were that was a bad decision. I do like the finish from Harvey Barnes. I thought that was a class finish. And on paper, I think Leeds can feel very hard done to that they haven't come away with this, doubling the amount of shots that Leicester had. But Yeah, I think for me, it's a case of people are knowing how to deal with a Bielsa playing team now, and I think there needs to be some quick changes there at Leeds to stop them being dragged in, because they're now on 11 points, just 3 or 4 spots above the relegation zone. Yeah, it's can be a very worrying time for them.
Yeah, and Rafinha, of course, has now scored 5 goals this season. That's 45% of Leeds' goals already this season that he's responsible for. If he gets injured right now, they could be in real trouble.
I mean, they're already struggling with injuries to goal scorers. I mean, Bamford's been out for quite a while. So, yeah, they are very reliant on Rafinha.
And they were unlucky not to get a penalty in injury time as well. Still handballs given for it. Chris, should it have given a handball? Or?
I think it's one of those really where, I can see why it would give it. If I were a Leeds fan, I'd have been screaming for it, whilst, fantasizing about my sister because I'm a Leeds fan. But also, if I'm a Leicester fan, I've just completely dismissed it. So, it's one of them, 6-1, half a dozen of the other sort of thing.
Jesus.
I think it would have been harsh if it were given, I think.
I forgot asking a Burnley fan what if Leeds United is not necessarily the best question to ask. It's
not really a Burnley fan. It's just
dirty,
where I live, really.
Dirty Leeds. I think it's a national thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a regional thing.
It's more so up.
We hate Leeds.
For sure. Yeah. This is dislike down here. It's hate up there. Right. I've been. If you've got in the chat saying hello, lads. Sorry, I'm late. You're never late.
Don't let that happen again.
Yeah. Also, there we go. Correct.
Yes.
Fuck Leeds.
Yep.
Absolutely. This is the part where I get to show I was not really looking forward to, but we've got.
And that's why you left it for last.
Exactly.
Don't blame the
best till
alphabet.
last.
It was also the last game of the weekend. West Ham United. I said this before the game. I said this on Tekkers multiple times. You do not want to face West Ham at the moment. And I was right. West Ham United 3, Liverpool 2. And it's no less than West Ham deserved. West Ham were phenomenal.
They're now 3rd in the league.
Yep. They're playing absolutely phenomenal stuff at the moment.
And looking down the form table, they are the in-form team. 4 wins out of the last 4. No one else in the Premier League has even come close to that. Yeah, this was the wrong time for Liverpool to be facing West Ham. And Liverpool actually dominated the game in terms of shots and in terms of possession, but West Ham was so good when they had the ball. Whenever they went forward, they always looked like they were looking dangerous. Fornals was absolutely on fire. This was a great performance by West Ham. The goal by Kurt Zouma really kind of like just showed how resilient this West Ham team have been. They deserve this victory. It's as simple and clear as that. It was a great performance.
They absolutely did.
Only helped by Alisson biscuit wrist Becker.
It is extremely unusual to see a goalkeeper of Alisson's quality making 3 errors in a game. Granted, West Ham took full advantage of each one of them, and fair play to them for that. I taking nothing away from them at all. But for someone who's been so consistent for Liverpool over the last few seasons, everyone had a bad game every now and again, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it just happened to be at the wrong time.
I mean, you could have capitalised on the results for this week, but you've now dropped into, I think, a Liverpool 4th. So West Ham have actually gone above you.
Yes.
But whilst we've got you here as the solo Liverpool fan, give us your thoughts on the Jordan Henderson tackle. What did you think about that?
Well, I know that Tanner because I wasn't actually watching the game live because I was at the venue checking out a few bits and pieces for it, but I have caught it on catch up because I know Tanner exploded saying that he was nowhere near it. I'll be honest, I've seen them given, I've seen them not given, but my personal opinion is that I think he should have gone.
A very similar one happened with Holtag. Studs up, did get the ball, but the follow through, it took the player out. I personally think that he shouldn't have. I think it was the right decision. I think he did get the ball, and whilst it looks dangerous if you slow it down and you watch it frame by frame, but
any tackle.
Yeah, exactly. In the moment and with the momentum, I don't think it was as bad as it looked in slow motion. So I think it was a good tackle. Like I said, the aim was to get the ball, and he did just that.
Yeah, it was an hard tackle, but I think the camera angle, the original camera angle, where it's sort of there's Cresswell in between the camera and Henderson. I think that made it look a lot worse. I think if you saw the sideline camera angle, the pitch side camera angle, I'm not American, but if you saw the pitch side camera angle, I think that gave you a much clearer view where, it wasn't like, from the original angle, it looked like Cresswell, stood up in Henderson's leg, but that just wasn't the case. It just didn't happen. It was an hard tackle, but it was a fair tackle in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's cool. People calling in the chat saying West Ham.
I'm glad you're okay with that, Matt.
I had to be, don't I? I had to be. So we play an arse whipping. They did, absolutely. 5 minutes ago, he's asking, was Konate injured? Because I don't understand why he dropped from Matip against a side with pacey counter attack. If not, he was not.
Klopp has his favourites, like any man does.
He was fully fit. He was fully fit to play. People continued in the chat saying, as a United fan, and I do hate Liverpool, but I think he is a red. I had to say, we've said it. We've said them given. The two non-biased fans here actually said it was
I'm incredibly biased. Anytime I can see you or Tanner squirm, I'll absolutely go in that direction.
It's not an anti-Liverpool bias, it's an anti-Matt bias.
I would point out that I am not as biased as Tanner.
No, you're not, to be fair.
You do hate Thiago with all your passion. And
you said Firmino was a better player than Mbappe.
Yeah, and you also said that Sergio Ramos should be dead and in jail. So you're not biased at all.
Should have been buried in jail.
I stand by half those comments. The latter half. Okay, I stand by half of those comments. One thing we have to comment is obviously it was an amazing free kick from Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, it was not enough to get anything more than back on level terms, but and Origi coming on did make it interesting towards the end, but. No, West Ham.
A player who has stolen a living for his whole career, Origi.
At the same time, he's still got Premier League and Champions League with his medal to his name, Max.
Yeah. He's living off that goal against Barcelona.
And he will. And he will.
Do you know who's got Champions League and Premier League winning trophies? Wes Brown. And he was wank.
Tom Cleverley's another one.
Yeah.
So, 5 corner 16 in the chat just says 3 words. If you put them into YouTube, it immediately comes up with that goal. It's great. Father's got in the chat saying yesterday showed where Liverpool may regret letting Wijnaldum go. He breaks the lines getting forward, and Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson don't do that. It's not a case of letting him go. He wanted to leave and wouldn't sign any contract.
They couldn't keep hold of him. Yeah, that's as simple as
and
that.
I think that sort of Curtis Jones was sort of slotting into that role for Liverpool, but obviously he was injured for this game, so he didn't feature. And I feel like, that's something that we have seen Oxlade-Chamberlain do in the past, but he didn't do that against West Ham. I don't know if he was just knackered because he played midweek or what, but his energy levels have just dipped considerably since the Europe game.
It was a mixed week for sure, because obviously last week Liverpool dropped points at home to Brighton, being 2 up. Stroldovic against Atletico Madrid in midweek, and then no question humbled by West Ham at the London Stadium. So much so that my brother decided to put a picture up on Twitter saying, "Now the last unbeaten team's been beaten, we can bring this out again, the golden trophy for being unbeaten." I'm like, seriously, James, you're living off that still?
Yeah,
It's been 17 years.
And a point just to wrap up this Liverpool and West Ham talk. Tanner and I were talking about the stadium, and he was saying how good of a stadium it looks, but he can't understand how whether that stadium is packed every week. And I said, "Yep, West Ham fans are very, very loyal." The attendance was 59,909, so a smidging off 60,000. So yeah, Tanner, it was certainly packed to the rafters.
Indeed. Si actually says in the chat, Si, but from Chain Wrestling, of course. Great show getting early, by the way, guys. Don't overlook Origi's first shot for his goal.
No, it was a great touch. Yeah,
but he is poor. I don't think so. You should be throwing stone in glass houses right now about player quality at the moment, mate.
Listen, we don't want any Radio Tekkers battles going on here, guys.
FIFA Connor in the chat is saying, "I'm happy not to play West Ham early this season and got the win against them in the league."
Yeah, anybody who comes up against this West Ham team right now need to be worried because they look like they could beat absolutely anybody.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For sure. Right, I need to now ask you, gentlemen, for who have been your players of the week?
I think whole tag for that amazing tackle, and he definitely didn't deserve to get sent off.
Yeah.
Are you genuinely going for whole tag, are you? Okay.
Why would I not? No. It's hard, really, because I don't think there's been a player who I'd say has stood out head and shoulders compared to some of the weeks we've had on this show where there've been goals and goals aplenty all week. This has been one of the more lackluster weeks. I think for the player that stands out, maybe Conor Gallagher. I think he had a really good performance for Palace, essentially involved in both goals. So yeah, I think he stands out for me.
That's a fair comment. Do you have one, Chris?
Jared Bowen. Easy as you like, Jared Bowen. No hesitation. Absolutely ran the show in that West Ham Liverpool game. He got 2 assists. He was instrumental for West Ham going forward. And he's just proven, that he was, he's just class. He's very good. He's Jared Bowen.
Yeah, I felt sorry
in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him when he went through a period of just not being able to score at all, and he looked like he was getting really frustrated. But yeah, he's blossoming into a top draw player.
That is absolutely fair. My personal pick is for Nick Pope.
Look at you trying to butter us up.
Exactly, yeah.
Every week.
Look at me. I like Burnley players there. Yeah.
Nick Pope had a fantastic game, I thought, and I think that he is well deserving of Player of the Week from me personally. But they're all good picks, to be fair. Gallagher had a great game. Jared Bowen absolutely ran the show against Liverpool, and Nick Pope certainly kept the score down at the bridge.
For me, it was Eric Bailly. Man City would not have won without his outstanding performance. Yeah, he was brilliant. Was it the first Frenchman to score at Old Trafford since Eric Cantona or something like that?
No, it was the first Eric to score.
The first Eric, that's it, yeah.
Since Eric Cantona.
Yeah. Sorry, the chat is saying, I've been to the stadium to see Guns N' Roses, amazing place. Shittest blast off ever, though. FIFA Connor saying, my last comment on West Ham is fuck divhead Moyes.
Hey, I mean, he had a torrid time at Man United. I don't think he was ready for that position.
Anyone would have done that. Yeah. I mean, if you look at that squad, also Ferguson knew when were the right time to leave because that squad were absolute shite.
Yeah.
The ironic thing when Moyes was sacked was the person who needed to go in and steady the ship David Moyes, ironically. But he can't replace himself usually. And so it comes from me now, it seems. Morgan came calling a player poor, Matt, my friend, can have straight and a good team and also class and a bad side.
Yeah, look at Maxwell Cordy, class in a bad side.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I don't think Burnley are.
No, I was definitely being talking in jest. Burnley are one of the best sides that we've had in a long time in terms of talent. Still quite paper thin in terms of numbers, but hopefully in January we're going to be adding a couple of names and bulking out the squad. I think the end of the season is going to be a massive transition period for Burnley, though. A lot of players out of contract, so we might see a lot of new faces come the end of the season. But yeah, let's hope we can spend that Alan Pace money wisely.
Hopefully, yeah.
It's
That
been
dollar.
Indeed. So obviously,
there'll be a Burnley tax that'll be coming in. What will be the Man United tax anymore? With the Burnley tax.
It's been a good weekend for some unusual results around the league. Let's say West Ham, of course. I think with the performance of the weekend, FIFA kind of causing trouble before we head off, saying calling to Leeds in January. I don't think
100 million. 100 million, they can have him.
Don't cause trouble, please, Connor. Okay, you're a good lad. So thank you very much to everybody for watching along with us tonight. Don't forget, of course, Chris, would you mind giving your details to people if they want to get in touch with you or heckle you?
Well, yeah, you can phone him on 07 or follow him on his premium Snapchat.
You just knock on my door at 30 Shan. No. But you can follow me on Twitter there and buy the Near Falls magazine. It's good. It's on sale at some point. I really should know when, but I don't.
I've already tapped Connor up for a paper copy of it. Still waiting to hear back from him. I can't wait for that magazine.
It's good. It's going to be brilliant. I can't wait to see what's going up. We'll be plugging that relentlessly coming up soon, of course. Your good self, Mr. Lordship.
So if you want to come and bend the knee to a legitimate member of heraldry, you'll do no further than follow me down here at Podfather Mags. May soon be changed to at Lord Mags very soon. We'll let you know. That's very true. All praise me, the Lord, actual Lord, not a joke. It's a shoot. Come and check me out.
Indeed. Tanner had to literally shoot to go.
So let's ignore that he ever happened, and let's just. Tanner is dead to us all.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Find me at
Texas Gentleman _
Indeed.
Or at Radio Tekkers.
Indeed.
As soon as he's the boss.
Yeah.
You can find me at Mathis UK. Follow this show at the Volley Live. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time because we're not here next week because we have international break.
So everybody
the most exciting time to be a football fan.
So we hope
England versus San Marino.
I hope so. Regardless, we hope you enjoyed a little break. Enjoy watching England probably smash San Marino. And hopefully players come back fit and healthy for the next part of the season. On behalf of us all here at Radio Tekkers, this has been the Volley Live, and we are out of here.
Kablab.